Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another version of the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackel. Obviously, because of COVID-19 and social distancing guidelines, we're doing this virtually via Zoom, joined by two familiar faces, security expert Mike Kahn, a former NOPD SWAT team commander, and lawyer and WDSU legal analyst Robert Jenkins. First off, Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
All right, the new year started off with quite a bang. Let's talk about not just the biggest story this week and probably what's going to be one of the biggest stories of 2021, but the biggest story out of the nation's capital in decades, the riot that broke out on Wednesday as Congress was set to confirm the Electoral College votes, making Joe Biden the president of the United States. Mike, we've all seen the pictures by this point. Talk about the security breakdown at the United States Capitol, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the highest, on a scale of 1 to 10, what kind of breakdown was this?
I would say that this was a catastrophic breakdown, Travers. In this situation, you had multiple layers that should have been aware, from the Sergeant of Arms all the way through the Capitol Chief of Police. It appears that there was no monitoring of any websites or anything else going on. You're talking about thousands and thousands of people all in town for this event. There were communications on websites, there was chatter through groups, and I'm sure there were private and meetings set up where people could come to those meetings and discuss how they wanted to do this. And it appeared to be no infiltration by the police to get a handle or an idea on what was going to happen.
Robert, we're going to get to you with the legality of all of this in a second and talk about the charges that a lot of these people face or could possibly face as we move forward with this. But Mike, given the size of the crowd, given the protests that this country has been through this summer that we saw in June and July in cities across America, is it safe to say they were completely unprepared for this, given the fact this is the nation's capital? And like you said, there was a lot of chatter that this was going to happen.
I would absolutely say that everything that I saw indicated they were 100% unprepared for this event to take place. There should have been the National Guard there. There should have been staging areas. There should have been barricades set up within different perimeters and then inner perimeters for those barricades. It should have been able to have been controlled. It doesn't matter how many people you had come there, that building should have been secured, and you should have controlled the ingress and egress to prevent this from happening.
I think a lot of people are really interested in this. We're going to come back to you in a second, Mike. Let's move over to Robert, though. You've seen a lot of cases. You've dealt with a lot of cases. A lot of these people are now facing charges, federal charges. If you could talk about the serious nature of this is not a joke. Some of these people could end up in jail.
It really isn't a joke because remember, we had a Capitol police officer that died. So now at the top of it, you got a homicide charge that could come. You got sedition, you got conspiracy, you got going on federal property without permission, across the state line to commit crimes. Look, other than homicide, the rest of the charges go from 0 to 20 years. The homicide can carry a life in prison. So this is very serious, and it looks like they're going to move forward with it.
Talk about the FBI investigation. We're going to have both of you all weighing on this. We'll start with Robert and then go to Mike. Talk about the FBI investigation. They have a full court press on this. They picked up a gentleman on Friday, the one sitting behind Speaker Nancy Pelosi's desk in Arkansas. Are they using pictures to identify these people? And Robert, what would a defense be if they come knock on somebody's door and say, hey, we know this is you. You were in the video. You're under arrest.
One of the things they're using is facial recognition. So they're doing that. But they're also using these people to identify as whether or not they had help within the police department or within the Congress to get on those grounds. So they're looking at conspiracy. They're looking at a host of charges. But the thing that they're using is social media and facial recognition to identify these people.
Talk about that, Mike. I mean, look, you were a police officer for a long time. How do the FBI, DC police, how do they use social media and facial recognition? Because it seemed like when you look at this video, a lot of people are holding up their cell phones. They were live streaming this. They were putting it on social media. Is that basically essentially going to catch them now because they stream this stuff and authorities can use that against them?
So yeah, absolutely, Travers. The idea is to use those tools as identifiers, not to convict people. You still have to do the investigation. But as you well know, any picture that you have, you could run through social media as a civilian, and it'll give you every other time that picture's been used, a person's information and everything about that, whether it be through Facebook or Google or other things. So they're going to take all those pictures, they're going to identify those individuals, they're going to get with the U.S. attorney, they're going to form charges, and they're going to come put those people in jail. And it's happening right now. And now all those people are kind of crying, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake," but that's not acceptable.
Robert, weigh on that. Yeah, weigh on this, Robert. You're a defense
One thing I want
attorney.
to say is that a lot of them now are asking for what? A pardon from President Trump. Yeah, they are. They're emailing and streaming and begging for a pardon before he leaves office.
Let me ask you this. You're a defense attorney. Not that this is going to happen, but if one of these people arrested knocks on your door on St. Charles Avenue and says, "Hey, I need you to represent me," what's a defense? What is a possible defense for somebody who's arrested for this riot at the U.S. Capitol?
One of the defenses is that they went there in peaceful protest and the riot swept them into that location, meaning they were pushed and they was running from it. That's the only defense you can have. So then you start looking at the actual photographs and the video to see what they did as a part of that riot.
Mike, let me ask you this, because this is going to come up as we move closer to Inauguration Day. And as we cover things locally here, not just in New Orleans and Jefferson and St. Tammany, but in Baton Rouge, how dangerous of a situation was that for the senators, the congressmen, their staff? A lot of their staff are young people who are just out of college. But is it going to prompt people here to reevaluate their security measures if they haven't already? I mean, I'm just using an example here. Is the Gretna Police Department, Joe LaPinto, and people in Jefferson Parish going to reevaluate their plan at the 24th JDC right now because of what happened in Washington, D.C.?
So I can tell you a couple of things. One is I'm glad that you bring that up, because these police officers, you saw the video, a lot of these officers were hurt. They were seriously hurt, and it's not a joke with what was going on. You know, the protesters want to look at this and then beg for forgiveness later, but this is actually domestic terrorism that took place here. I mean, this is a very sacred building, and in order for them to go through and do what they did, they actually hurt people and injured people, police in the way. I will tell you that I don't think in New Orleans or Jefferson Parish things will change much, because we have extremely intricate plans in place for dealing with protests, for dealing with riots, for situations like Mardi Gras, and people from all over the country come down here to train with New Orleans and Jefferson Parish and state police to see how they deal with these things. In other areas, I'm sure they will consider how to harden those capitals and make it a more secure area to prevent this thing from happening.
Go ahead, Robert.
I was going to tell Mike, one of the things now, we're getting reports, and you know this, that people are threatening the inauguration. So they are actually tightening security now as we speak.
Right. It's going to be a different inauguration than anybody's ever seen here for a U.S. president.
No doubt about it. It is an NSE event. With that being declared, Secret Service actually takes over presidential inauguration. So it's not the FBI or anyone else, but Secret Service actually runs that declared event solely, and they get the help from every other police entity. And this will be one of the more secure ones. They do a phenomenal job with prior preparation, making sure things are in place and creating those areas to make sure it's safe for everyone who's there.
All right. I wish we could talk more about this. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Security expert, former NOPD officer Mike Kahn, legal analyst Robert Jenkins, both from your home due to social distancing and the COVID-19 spike that we're seeing across this state and this region right now. We appreciate your time. We will have much more coming up on this topic, the chaos at the Capitol, during newscast as we head into this week. For now, I'm Travers Mackle. Let's send it back to you.
And as we continue to follow this story, you can stay up to date online at WDSU.com, on or on our mobile app.